everyone, it's the Axle Shifter here, and I am back with the next Multiverse Wars episode number 73. And today, we're going to be looking at two Razor Hat wielding combat masters. Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat versus Crane from Kung Fu Panda. We're going to be seeing which one of these guys, the one with the biggest hats ever, would win in a fight. So, without further ado, let's get straight into this. Kung Lao is a character from the Mortal Kombat series. He is a Shaolin monk and is close friends to the main protagonist of the franchise, Liu Kang. He is also a student of the Master Bo Rai Kao and champion to the Thunder God Raiden. He has also remained as one of the franchise's most popular characters and has been a central supporting character throughout his appearances, first appearing in Mortal Kombat 2. But now, let's talk about his powers, abilities, and feats. In terms of attack potency and durability, his signature weapon, that being a razor-rimmed hat, can slice through opponents and even decapitate them. He has also defeated several other powerful MK characters like Shang Tsung and Kitaro, with Shang casually being able to destroy a bunch of Lin Q cyborgs and Kitaro incapacitating Cabal, with Cabal being comparable to Scorpion, who can tank over 363 million joules of energy, or small building levels of power, all of which Kung Lao should scale to. And as for speed, he is around massively hypersonic, since he can keep up with other characters at that range, so I think it's safe to say it's pretty reasonable to scale him at those speeds as well, at least in terms of combat and reaction speeds. Next is intelligence, and Kung Lao is a highly disciplined and strategic fighter, and he did train in various martial arts and combat techniques, as well as training alongside with other characters such as Liu Kang. Plus, his experience in Mortal Kombat tournaments makes him highly experienced and above average in terms of intelligence and battle IQ, we can say. Next are his abilities and equipment, really. He can hurl his razor hat at opponents and can slice through them as well as decapitate them. His hat grinder, which acts more as a buzzsaw, then pretty much just does that, like I said before. But he also has a teleport wind ability, which allows him to go to the ground and reappear behind his opponent. He can even spin around like a tornado and pretty much just engulf his enemies while he slices them repeatedly until they die, pretty much. Then you can also has the arm cutter ability, or at least fatality in one of the games, where you can pretty much just chop his enemies' limbs off, or arms anyway, but the opponent attempts to run away, but Kung Lao just slices them, decapitates their head off, so yeah. He also has a few other fatalities like the friendly rabbit, where Kung Lao takes off his hat only to reveal Bunny, which he waves at his opponent, but then he proceeds to beat the opponent until they explode. The unfriendly rabbit just is unfriendly, so he just kills them. Then there's the head toss, the many chops, and yeah, the head toss pretty much allows Kung Lao to kick the opponent in the gut, and then he grabs them by the head and just pulls them over and cuts their head off, and just, yeah. Then there's the many chops, where Kung Lao takes off his hat and cuts off each limb one by one. And as the opponent falls to the ground, he just slams their hat, decapitating them once again. But now that we've gone over all of his strengths, now let's go over his weaknesses. For one, Kung Lao is pretty overconfident, and his large desire to prove himself has led him to make pretty reckless decisions over the years. And plus, while he is very strong, he can still be overpowered by other MK characters, or specifically the stronger supernatural beings. But overall, don't let the hat fool you. Kung Lao cuts deeper than his ego. Master Crane is a Kung Fu master and a member of the Furious Five. He originally worked as a janitor at the Lidong Kung Fu Academy, where his skill was noted by its star pupil, Ming Ling. And after training, he passed the school tryouts and proved his Kung Fu capabilities, which led him to become a member of the Furious Five, alongside Tigress, Mantis, Monkey, and Viper. He also met Po for the first time after joining the Furious Five, where he was at first doubtful that a panda could be considered the Dragon Warrior, but he later accepted him, not only as a friend, but also as an ally. Crane should scale to Mantis, who is stated to be capable of breaking buildings, and even held his own against Tai Lung for a little bit, who, at least in Kung Fu Panda 1, is the biggest threat in the entire movie. Crane also scales to Tigress, who, even when she was younger, she could still violently fragment a large rock, a feat that has been calculated to over 0.39 tons of TNT, or building level, and Crane should scale to all of this. And as for speed, he can keep up with a casual Tai Lung for some time, and Tai Lung could also react and travel at supersonic speeds. He can also keep up with Po, who can reflect and react to cannonballs. Crane can also fly at supersonic speeds, so he is pretty fast. Now for intelligence. Again, it is above average since he is a highly skilled fighter and has years of experience in the Furious 5 team, along with working with them, of course. And as for his abilities, he can do a move called the Wings of Justice, a kung fu technique that involves an avian warrior using their wings to create a powerful gust of winds, blowing their opponents away. And also he can fly too, and that's kind of it. But even then, he still does have his weaknesses, those being his legs. Although his AP is pretty impressive, his legs don't look the strongest, at least in my opinion, or at least anyone that could see it, obviously. But other than that, he doesn't really have any other notable weaknesses. So, overall, the Master Crane still soars above the rest. But now that we have discussed both characters, it's time we talk about who would win this fight. And while both of them are highly skilled and strong by themselves in their own right, I would have to say that Kung Lao would be the winner of this fight. And I will tell you why. Firstly, Crane does have the slightest edge at attack potency, but it's not so high to the point where Kung Lao can't hurt him at all. He still could. There's only like a 5 times difference between like building level or like small building level. Also, Lao clearly takes the speed edge because he can react and fight around massively hypersonic speeds, at least in combat and reaction, of course, whereas Crane can only do that at supersonic speeds. So this would make Lao over 167 times faster than Crane. Also, Lao had more options to take Crane down, like his Razor Hat, his teleportation, the spinning tornado move, or the Hat Rabbit ability or move, which would eventually overwhelm Crane to the point where he could pretty much just allow Kung Lao to do a fatality on him, which would obviously not end well for Crane. So, in the end, it looks like Crane did try to fly high, but in the end, Kung Lao turned that hat into a no-fly zone. The winner is Kung Lao.